when I talk about a metaverse, when I am actually trying to understand myself, what does it mean? I think it will be actually, a collage of the reality with AR and VR. That's what I think it will be in the end. And I can see just like as the internet, because the internet today is a 2D. We speak now and I see you in 2D. I don't see you in 3D. So I feel the metaverse will just going to be
Hello to you all. Welcome to yet another episode of Newforum. Newforum is powered by Newcoin Foundation, focused on fostering the expansion of decentralized social applications, also known as Social 3.0, by forming an ecosystem and a community of visionaries, creators, and investors. It provides a safe space for thinkers to communicate, inform, and share ideas in order to ensure the conscious and ethical growth of a new web, embedding the values of care, freedom, and creativity.
And in today's episode, we are super excited and honored to have Roei Derhi with us. Roei is a fashion designer with several years of experience in the industry. He's also the founder of Placebo digital fashion house, his own label. Thank you for joining us today, Roei. We're super happy to have you here.
I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Things off, Roei, could you tell us a bit about yourself and your creative work as a designer?
Yeah. So my name is Roei Derhi. I'm originally from Israel, Tel Aviv. I moved to Sweden in 2016 after I was recruited by H&M to join their design team. And since then, I'm here in Stockholm, the cold and dark Stockholm. And basically 3 years ago, I took part in a startup that didn't really succeed so much. It was failed, like a lot of startups. Mm-hmm. But I actually used the 3D tools that I got from this startup, and I started to explore how we can use 3D with fashion. And then I just, find out about a new world. And I found the Placebo Digital Fashion House. It was a journey that started 2.5-3 years ago with Placebo. And and basically today it's a fashion house that doing their own collection with a big team. We're giving service to fashion brands, to the gaming industry, and creating amazing digital fashion and spread the word of new era for fashion.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's incredible.
So exciting.
And I've seen some of your work, and I must say it's amazing. I actually went stalking you on LinkedIn, and I was like loving your work on there. It's brilliant. And I'm actually wondering, what inspires you? What inspires your work?
I think what actually very special when it's come to Placebo is that Placebo is actually a fashion house that build with Generation Z and millennials people. Mm-hmm. And this is like create a special identity for the brand because Generation Z and Y love to ask a lot of questions. I guess you both know because we are same generation, but we love to dig in, to ask questions. We love to talk. And that's a very special thing. Some people might find it actually not important to challenge yourself with questions. But I think actually to talk about the future, about gender, about boundaries, physical boundaries, to talk about the digital revolution and to talk about NFT and everything that's happening right now is actually what inspires us to do what we do. Because in the end, what we want to do in Placebo is actually to challenge people. That's what we want. We want to challenge people through fashion. And we have different ways of how we do it. But that's actually our goal, to talk about identity, to challenge people, and to challenge what we know from the physical world.
So I think the audience and we would also love to know, how does social media impact your work as a designer right now? Because back in the days, designers didn't have a lot of exposure to it, and now it's like a big part, I guess, of your work and what influences your work.
It is. I think, first of all, it's a design challenge as well, because when you're trying to, there is a big difference when you're trying to design a garment for a customer that you know is going to have to a wedding or not necessarily going to be on picture, that's one thing that you can actually need to design, and you understand the platform that people will see this garment through. And it's not necessarily through pictures, but when it's come to actually design a garment that going to see in social media, in pictures, in video, you need to understand the complex. It's just different way of approach to the design process. So you need to understand, for example, black colors not necessarily always look good through social media because they look just like something that the light cannot take and change. So you need to be able to manipulate the texture on it and the different maps to make them look good through pictures. So there is so many things that you need to consider, but I think actually the most exciting things when it comes to design digital fashion, that there is no limits of what you can actually do. And that's the amazing part. You can design pockets from water, you can create zippers from fire. I mean, everything is okay as long as you have the tools. So this is the amazing part.
And within your process, normally it probably takes a couple of months, sometimes a year, to build up a fashion collection. So how is that with like social media and, the pressure to be always, up on the next thing and always showing and kind of like, people rushing through the work? Like, how does that impact you personally?
I have to say that one of the things that I'm super proud on when it's come to everything that's happening right now is that I am, as the founder, and my team, we don't let the pressure actually affect us so much because there is a lot of hype right now. And we can discuss about what of the hype is actually relevant and what is not, because this is a different discussion. But we don't let this affect us before we actually understand what does it mean. Like, I can say that we're going to launch soon a very big NFT project, but we didn't do it until now because we didn't find the right suitable platform to do it in a sustainable way and in a way that we feel it's ethical, because we didn't necessarily felt it's so comfortable to sell digital fashion for now, because I mean, there is no any platform that can actually use this fashion to implement on picture for people. I mean, and use it for gaming. There is no any cross platform today through gaming. So it's really important, as I said, to filterize constantly and to ask yourself question what we actually feel comfortable as a brand to do for our community, for the Placebo community, for our customers, because it's really important today, speaking of social media, to be transparent. And people that not transparent, I think it will be out in the end. So it's super important for us to be very honest with our customers and with the community of Placebo.
That's incredible. Because, we're living in a time of like attention charged economy. Everything is about hype, trends, and it's really incredible that you have a core, you have a strong foundation, mission, vision, and where you're sort of driving your team and your fashion house. And I really find that inspiring, that you're not caught up with everything that is around you. And I also like that you mentioned that Placebo is challenging the status quo. Like, it's not just making amazing digital fashion, but you're pretty much creating a space where people can start thinking about, gender equality, about things, around us. And so I really, really admire that about your journey, about your work. And I'm interested to know, so do you do mainly like digital garments, or is there like an intersection between the physical garments in a way? And can you share a bit about the process, your work process?
For now, Placebo Digital Fashion House is actually creating digital fashion completely. We're not doing any physical fashion, but we might do very soon. It's just a hint. But what's actually happening right now is that I can say that we actually inspire a lot by physical fashion. And I think actually, if we speak about what is the difference between Placebo and different digital fashion houses, that I can say proudly that my team, that is the best team. I really have talented, creative people in Placebo, amazing designers, really physical and digital, that understand fabric, understand fashion and understand materials. And I think what is really special about what we do is that we're using the culture language of fashion and we bring it into digital fashion. And this is the way that we actually challenge people as well, because when you create a digital garment and you put a pocket on that garment, so there is a question, is that pocket is actually utilized? Can you use it?
Right.
And I love it because you can actually ask those questions. Maybe in the future we can actually use it, maybe not now, but it's open people's mind to think in a different way because we're using the language of fashion to challenge people. Pockets, zipper, we are very detail oriented. All the time when people talk about Placebo and ask me what is the aesthetic of Placebo, I always say we kind of an outdoor glam because we're using a lot of outdoor utilized details, a lot of utility details, but we give it in a glam just to show what option we have to create in digital fashion. And I think that's what makes us very special in a way.
Right, definitely outstanding and unique. I was watching a video on you and about Placebo, and I saw you actually modeling some of the clothing, and I'm not sure if they were actually made. Like, was it like, did you really? Because it looked like it was made digitally and then it was translated into like an actual physical, but I'm not sure whether it was done that way or was photoshopped. I'm not really sure, but I'm interested to know.
First of all, that's part of the thing, the something that I actually love the most, because I think that digital fashion, sorry for my language, but fuck people mind. I mean, they don't understand anything.
Yeah.
They don't understand what is real and what is not. And I love it.
Yes.
I love it. I just love the people asking, wait, is that real? Can you send us these garments for an editorial? And I'm like, well,
yeah, that happened to me.
No, but yeah, I can actually say that for the beginning of the journey that I have, well, it was not the beginning, it was quite in the middle. I was actually quite, it was a brave step because I said, you know what? I mean, I can create my own clothes and I can just put them on myself and put them out on social media. And that's the amazing thing about social media because it can be for everyone. I don't need to wait for a great reporter of fashion to write about me. We all became journalists. We all can write. We can be out there. And that's the amazing part about social media. And so, yeah, that's how I start in a way. And then it just explode. People just start to ask me questions about the garments that I created. And then we launched the first collection of Placebo. It called Placebo 0.1. And then slowly just became the brand Placebo. So it was in a build-up. I mean, from a collection to become a brand.
Right.
It's amazing to see how in a small, like, year, maybe in a time frame of a year, this whole thing like evolved out of nowhere, like out of this pandemic, and seeing this online space and people in these communities and finding themselves back in digital fashion is so amazing. So I'm wondering, in the future, do you see yourself, there's a lot about talk about NFTs and crypto and also maybe social tokens. We see the normal, like the traditional fashion industry is more based on other models. So you as a, let's say, futuristic designer, do you want to include all of these models? Do you see yourself including maybe social tokens or any of these type of things? What do you think about that?
I mean, I see what's happening right now with NFT. I think it's kind of explode. You know what? Let's not talk about NFT. Let's talk about the blockchain. I think that everything that happened right now with the blockchain is that people actually see it as like a business opportunity. Let's create money from it. And it's amazing to talk about it because it's like actual money. I mean, money, it's just paper in the end. We just as a tribe, as people, this animal that called human being, we gave it value. And it's the same with NFT. We gave something value. We decided that it's actually valuable, so people paid for it. But I think what's interesting to talk about is actually not necessarily the money that it can bring you. How can we actually use it to change culture, to change the way we communicate, to create tribes? Because, today, I don't care if someone is from Syria, I don't care if someone is from the United States, I don't care if someone is, I always say, but people all the time laughing about me, that I don't care what religion you are, I don't care from where you are, and I don't care, I don't care what is your gender. I actually care how much followers you have. And that's in a way crazy to say, because then we can talk about, wait, but that's what you care, how much followers a person have? Yes, that's what I care today in the 21st century, much more than anything else. And I think those things, the digital revolution, we need to talk about it, how it's going to affect our culture. And blockchain could be a perfect way to do it, because we can create communities, we can create tribes with common interest in things like digital fashion.
Yes.
And I think that's what actually important for me in Placebo, to use the blockchain to create a community that can affect Placebo, and they can help Placebo as well. And that's the most important thing. And as well, it's a question, speaking of the blockchain, how much, when we all the time have these talks about blockchain and about NFT, it's important constantly to ask us questions, for example, how much power we actually want to give technology in that sense.
Right.
Because we take the power from banks, we take the power from lawyers, but we actually give the power to technology, to computers. And that's something I feel, that's my point of view as a person that's using, technology and R&D constantly. That's the way that we think. How much far can we go? It's super important to ask ourselves constantly this question: how much power we want to give computers in the end? I don't have the answer.
Right.
I
No,
don't have it.
but we are
But
in the team, we are experimenting a lot with different AI technologies, and also, we talk a lot about blockchain and regulation and these kind of things, what decentralization can really bring to the people, and not just to the fashion space, but to the creative economy in general. And I think you made a really great point about how life-changing this technology can be, and we have still to explore so much more that we can do with it. Yeah, but like this Placebo is one of the things that can represent the space, and it's like can grow out of these out of the space. Yeah.
I really feel like it's my responsibility and my team responsibility, because we in a way a bit futuristic in what we do, to actually show how we want the future to look like, and to do things in an ethical way, and to show governments that are genderless, they sizeless, they ageless. I mean, because that's what we want. We want to aim for equality. We want to aim for a much better future. So I feel this is our responsibility as a brand.
Right, that's incredible. I also like that you touched on the fact that, given the power to technology, and how much do we want to give? And I think that's a big question that we all do not have the answer. But we hope for the best. We research, and we do our homework before we get into things. But it's definitely bringing a change. It's going to be more inclusive. It's going to allow more creators, more people to do more, to be reached even further, because there are a lot of creators like in different countries, but it's sort of limited to very specific countries. And I grew up in Ghana, and there are brilliant designers who, most of them have no idea about crypto, about technology, because they're not really exposed to these things. And I feel like, for instance, something like Newforum and this type of discussion we're having can sort of be an educative tool for people like that to start getting into the space, to see the possibilities. So yeah, this is great.
I have to say that you said something so true, because I feel that content today and entertainment today, as gaming, for example, it's so important to understand that it's not only a business. It actually could be a life-changing culture tool. It could be an educate tool, because I always say when I'm talking with different gaming companies that one of the reasons why I actually build Placebo, it's because the way that you see a female representation in gaming, and that's very the female body in a way that it's not appropriate to the way that women, represent themselves today. And that's not going hand with hand, because I feel some people don't see the street. They don't understand. Me as a fashion designer, I was educated to understand and to analyze, to go out to the street, to see people, and to try to have a gut feeling, what is the next big thing. I need to represent and to reflect the future, the present, and to give a glimpse to the future. that's my job as a fashion designer. And I feel gaming could be such an amazing tool for the younger generation to educate them, to see females as they seen today, and not very, I mean, because it's not how they look like.
Right.
So that's part of the reason why I'm so fighting for the gaming industry to take, use digital fashion house for those purpose, because they're not having the tools to create garments.
Right. That's incredible. Speaking of like gaming, digital fashion, I'm wondering if you've begun thinking about the metaverse and how it will influence the fashion industry, and I guess the game industry as well, and still sort of try to solve these problems that you're talking about, because female representation in these gaming can obviously improve. So yeah, I'd love to know your thoughts on that.
It's so funny because we launched in LA Fashion Week the Meta collection, and it was in the same week that Facebook went out with the announcement of changing to Meta. So it was actually a really great time. Thank you, Meta, for that. It definitely created a hype around us, so thank you. But I think that the Meta collection and what the video of the 5 minutes of the collection actually, in a way, say everything that we think about the metaverse. Because for me, the metaverse, it's such an abstract word right now. And I feel that in a way, there is a hype around it. Around the word metaverse, and people talk about the metaverse, but I would like to talk about the culture things about the metaverse. I would like to talk about what does it mean, the metaverse, because everyone talk about the metaverse, but no one can show me the metaverse. So where is it? What are you talking about, people? I mean, you're trying to fool me, but it will not work to you. I mean, because people trying to describe a beautiful future when you can actually take a garment and you can cross between different games and between Snapchat to Meta to Facebook to Instagram. But I would like to know if it actually what the future will bring with him, because is the business decision that those people will take, Snapchat and Meta and will they actually want to cross between them? Because that's a business. You need to ask yourself: does massive gaming studio that here in Sweden will want to be crossed with Epic Games? I mean, is that even good for the business? I'm not sure. I mean, those things. So I feel that's what I said in the beginning. I feel like we need to filterize and we need to understand what is actually a hype and what is not. And I'm not saying the metaverse is not, will be, because I don't know, basically. But my job is to create fashion for the metaverse, whatever it will be. But that's my job, not to create a metaverse. But when I talk about a metaverse, when I am actually trying to understand myself, what does it mean? I think it will be actually, a collage of the reality with AR and VR. That's what I think it will be in the end. And I can see just like as the internet, because the internet today is a 2D. We speak now and I see you in 2D. I don't see you in 3D. So I feel the metaverse will just going to be the internet only in 3D. We will be able to go into Wikipedia and maybe to see it around you. We will not need screens anymore. While I'm talking, I actually thinking that maybe the metaverse is actually a reality without screens, because we will see just everything in front of us with glasses. That's maybe what it will be. So that's, I don't know, just a question. Maybe.
This question has been so interesting with all of our guests, because everyone had a different opinion and everyone had a different vision of how it could look like. Even one of our guests said, do we have to wear glasses? And we're like, maybe challenge this idea of do we have to wear glasses? Is it more like a space, a conscious space that is introducing this world, instead of being in the real world, or you can go into the metaverse and have another identity, or build things kind of like that. And also what you said about the businesses that are built now, they are not built to intercross and interlink yet, and blockchain is, bringing this change as well, like, where apps maybe can interlink, and
Exactly.
they have to adapt as well to this future that we might see. Really
And
interesting.
that's what I think would be so interesting to see. Which of the games will go and implement that as part of the blockchain, and which one will decide no? And I mean, I think it will be so interesting soon. I really do.
So we touched a lot about, fashion within the metaverse now, and, you explained a bit like how you see this whole thing. Do you see any potential concerns on the impact of the metaverse concerning users maybe, or society? Like, what do you think we have to keep in mind while using the metaverse?
Well, I think the most important thing to remember is that internet and social media, and the same as the metaverse, is actually connecting between people. That's what it's supposed to be. But the fact that people are connected doesn't actually say that it's peaceful. It doesn't mean that it's harmonized. Connecting between people doesn't mean accept of different and diversity and inclusive. That's not what it means. It means that people are just connected, and it could be even dangerous in the same time. And I think that what important is to remember is that how we can actually use technology, how can we actually use blockchain, fashion, digital fashion, to make people feel free to express themselves, to harmonize people. And that's what I think actually is my concern, how people can use this for bad purposes. That's something that I think we should definitely, because we saw it. I mean, it's not a secret that social media can be very oriented bully, like social media bullying, and you can see a lot of races over there. You can see you can see so many things over there. There is positive things, a lot of positive things, but the fact that people connect, it doesn't mean that it's peaceful.
Right.
Yeah.
Balance, I think, is the magic word here. Finding the right balance.
I just really hope that the urge to create money from technology, this savage thing that we have in ourselves to use things to create money, will not go above the meaning to create something beautiful and amazing for the future. Because unfortunately, for what we see right now, especially when it's come to NFT and everything, it's not necessarily happening. And that's could be a little bit disappointed to see people that actually prefer the money side and not to do something good, and to ask themselves, are we willing to take part of that? So
we at Newcoin also discussed this a lot. Every time we have something, we ask the team, okay, does this align with our core vision? Does this align with our core values? Is this the most ethical way? And are we doing the right moves within this? Because we see the long-term vision of this space, and obviously there's always this downside of people trying to abuse technology, or do things, scam people, or all these type of things that are happening. But there will be, I think, more cybersecurity and regulations around the blockchain, around smart contracts, that will hopefully balance it more out than it is right now. I think it's right now really just at a peak, and people trying to like you said, grab the money from the technology. And I hope that in the future we will find the nicer way to really have this concept.
Yeah, I think definitely the intention shouldn't be money driven, it should come from thinking about making the world a better place. Like in the end, we want to make the world a better place. And so if that's the drive, if that's the intention, then I think that we will definitely be moving towards the right path. And that's one thing I love about, being a part of Newcoin Foundation, Newcoin Protocol, is the fact that we care about the ethical side of things. We're constantly challenging each other. We're constantly, talking about how to make things better, inclusivity. And this is why we even have Newforum, to allow different people to be part of the conversation, to hear different perspectives from other people, because this is not for one person, it's for all of us, right? And if we want to make the world a better place, then we want to reach like a broader audience. So we're really like excited that you are actually part of the conversation, and you've said a lot of amazing things so far, very insightful. So I'm wondering, speaking about the future, digital garments, do you see like a possibility of digital garments being a part of our everyday life, and how will that look like?
Well, that's a really amazing question. I think they might be. I think something happened in the pandemic. We all had the need suddenly to go to extremely escapism from the world. Mm-hmm. I think because people talk about how explode digital things in the corona, I don't think actually it was that. Like that we need to stay home and we need to buy digital clothes. This is actually not my theory, because you can still buy garments from Zara and to bring it home, like right. They can ship it and then take a picture. What is different? I think actually what happened is that we need to escape from what's going on in the world, and there is nothing more beautiful than a place that doesn't have like boundaries and you can do whatever you want. And this kind of aesthetic is really charmful in a way and very nostalgic in a way, because it's even on childish things. It's gaming, it's beautiful. I mean, we all want to have this state of mind all the time, even when we grow up. So I think what we're actually going to see is how people using technology and digital fashion as a representation of themselves, because we can sit here actually in this Zoom meeting, and maybe I will be with my avatar and he will wear something, and maybe you will use AR technology through Zoom to put on yourself digital garments of Placebo. I mean,
right.
That maybe will be the next the next step for this thing. So
next interview will be everyone will be dressed up.
Yeah,
you know? Differently.
And I think this is like in a way the essence of fashion, because when I talk about gaming, I don't think gaming is the new fashion. Gaming for me is the new fashion, because fashion is you wake up in the morning and you actually decide which character are you going to play today. Are you going to be the serious with a blazer, or are you going to be more playful to put a hoodie and with a hat and right. Trash jeans and just to go out to the street? You constantly having a character, and gaming is the most extreme way to play a character. You actually having a character. You can wake up in the morning and say, you know what? Today I'm a female, and I don't care what people say. Right. Or today I'm a monster. That's fashion. That's what it is. You're playing a character. You're using body to express something.
So it's crazy because I never drew that line before, only now where it came up, I'm like, yeah, it makes so much sense that gaming and fashion go hand in hand. And before it was like, we used to play games when we grew up and everything, but it wasn't like you could not see these things happening really. But it makes sense, like you just explained.
I remember when I was a small kid to play Mortal Kombat with my brother. When we used to squeeze the keyboard and trying like to beat each other. Those when the computer was that wide, it was unbelievable, like a refrigerator. But I remember that I used to see Kitana. Kitana was the one with the blue suit, and she had like a fan that she used to fight with. And I all the time was looking forward to see the next Mortal Kombat, what they're going to dress her with.
Wow.
That was like, I think actually then there is different ways that I felt love in fashion, but definitely this is one of them through gaming. So it's not, for me, it's like so natural in a way to look what gaming character dressed up with, because that's so magical. It's like a fantasy.
Right. That's incredible. And I was just thinking about comics. Like, were you inspired by comic books as well, like the characters? Because there's a lot of like fashion and like dressing.
I think that's the main purpose why I went to fashion, because my mother used to buy me comic books of X-Men and Marvel, and I used to sneak into the kitchen and take baking sheet paper and just copy them with new clothes. that's how I fell in love with fashion and garments, and to try to understand what is fit to which body, and just to play around with it. I think that was X-Men was definitely a very, very meaningful thing for me as a kid. And definitely it was one of
it's incredible to when you do your work now and you can reference these things that might have like influenced you. You didn't even realize back then, but you always have these like one or two movies or one or two, like you said, comic books that still are in the back of your mind or still reference your work. I think that's really so amazing to
it is. And as a kid, it gave me much more than only fashion, and definitely
it's incredible because as you're speaking, I'm just like imagining and visualizing Roy as a kid in the kitchen. You were so driven that you actually thought about using the baking sheet. Like I never thought about that. Now I'm like, so I can just get the baking sheet paper and then use it to do whatever I want to. So I just like learned something today, and you had that innovation as a kid. You thought about that.
What a weird kid.
Oh, what's an innovative kid, at the time you were problem solving, even at that age, and you figured, okay, maybe I could use this, and you tried it and it worked and you used it. So that's incredible. So
it's so kind of you, because I saw it as such a weird thing, but I mean, thank you for seeing it in such a positive way.
No, it's super positive. So like on that note, is there something you would like to share with our audience, a key takeaway? How could they get involved in the digital fashion space? Because I'm sure a lot of people will be as inspired as we are today.
I would say reach out to us in Placebo. I mean, we always trying to be there. We always try to answer questions. We always join our community, follow us on Instagram, and trying to stay tuned to different projects, because soon we're going to have so many beautiful projects that we're going just to drop, amazing ones. So NFT project, we're going to have a very amazing VR project soon. So a lot of things going to happen. So be with us, stay.
That's awesome. Can you tell our listeners where they can find you on social media?
We have Placebo DFH, Placebo Digital Fashion House. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us on LinkedIn. You can find us on Facebook. So we are there. Join the community.
Yes, join the community. Thank you so much, Roy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much for being part of today's forum. And if you want to get more involved with our community, make sure to follow us as well on Instagram. We are newcoin.nco, and we also have a Telegram group where we update people about everything that is happening within our community. And we will link the Telegram group in the bio below. And thank you, Roy, so much for today's episode. So many great insights. I think the audience are really enjoying this one. Thank you, Salimi. And we see you next time.
Joy. Thank you, Roy. See you next time.